Welcome back, everybody. You sent us this really fascinating historical puzzle, a death sentence from 1881, and it's supposedly from the legendary Judge Roy Bean himself.
Oh, wow.
So we're going to be looking at some news clippings, and we even have some FBI correspondence that's related to this whole thing.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. So our mission today is to separate fact from fiction and see what we can learn about this death sentence from 1881.
Well, it's amazing how just one document can spark so much curiosity, and,
Yeah.
and Judge Roy Bean, he's a pretty large figure in the history of the Wild West,
Absolutely.
known for his unconventional and often very theatrical approach to justice.
Right, yeah, his personality is kind of legendary.
Yeah.
So let's just dive right into the document itself.
Okay.
So it's a sentence condemning a certain Jose Manuel Miguel Xavier Gonzalez to death. But what's really striking is the language used.
Mm.
It's incredibly dramatic, almost poetic.
Mm-hmm.
It's not what you would typically expect in a legal document, especially in the 1880s.
No, especially for that time period.
Right.
Yeah.
It reads more like a vengeful monologue or something, like
Right.
full of these vivid images, like buzzing bees in the springtime,
Yeah.
vultures picking at bones,
Yeah. And it's just so over the top,
Yeah.
that it immediately raised some red flags for me.
Right.
Even for a figure like Judge Roy Bean with his colorful personality,
Right, exactly.
This just seemed a bit excessive, even for him.
Right, and that's what prompted me to start digging a little bit.
Yeah.
I figured maybe this case was so outlandish it'd be well documented.
Sure.
So I went to the Department of Justice Law Library hoping to find some record of it,
Sure.
and no such luck, unfortunately.
Okay.
But they did put me in touch with a historian at the New Mexico Archival Library.
Okay.
And that's where things got really interesting.
I bet. It's fascinating how persistent some historical myths can be,
Yeah.
And the New Mexico Archival Library, they actually have a thick file of requests for this very sentence,
Wow.
going all the way back to 1977. So people have been captivated by this,
Yeah.
but their research has thoroughly debunked it as folklore, pure fiction.
Well, that's a little bit of a letdown,
Ah.
but their findings are pretty convincing.
Yeah.
So for one thing, the Chief Justice of the New Mexico Territories back then was L. Bradford Prince.
Yeah.
And he was a devoutly religious man.
Okay.
And he was known to be quite proper. So not really the type to write about vultures and use terms like sons of bitches.
Yeah, doesn't really fit.
Yeah. And also, there's no historical record of any Jose Gonzalez
Yeah.
being executed in New Mexico in the 1880s.
Oh, wow.
Plus, when you look at the timeline, Judge Roy Bean's time as a federal judge,
Yeah.
meaning that he was serving on the federal bench,
Right.
was much earlier, as before 1881.
Right.
So he couldn't have issued this sentence.
Okay, so case closed.
Well, not so fast.
Uh-huh.
Remember those news clippings I mentioned?
Yeah.
They throw a pretty fascinating twist into this whole affair.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'd almost forgotten about them.
Yeah.
One in particular caught my eye. It's a 1989 article from the Baltimore Sun, and it's about Hispanic drug agents alleging discrimination within the DEA.
Okay.
And what's really strange is they mention this same death sentence document.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Now, this version attributes it to another famous hanging judge,
Okay.
Isaac Parker.
Okay.
And they date this version to 1882.
Okay.
And get this, it supposedly appeared on a DEA bulletin board in Washington, D.C.
Hold on.
Yeah.
So we have this document that we already know is fake,
Right.
and it's popping up in this completely different context.
Yes.
Why would a document about a potentially fabricated hanging appear in a case about discrimination?
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the article doesn't reveal the source of the document
Right.
or who might have placed it on the bulletin board.
Right.
It's all very, very mysterious.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost as if this fake document has taken on a life of its own.
Right.
It's popping up in these unexpected places.
It is.
But the story gets even stranger when we start looking at those FBI documents that you sent.
Yeah, this is where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
So we're talking about the background check on Tom Clancy.
Oh, wow.
The best-selling author,
Yeah.
known for his military thrillers
Right.
for a potential White House position.
Wow. So this is 1989.
Right.
The Cold War was still a major concern,
Mm.
and Clancy's expertise on all things military and espionage, was
Yes.
highly sought after.
Yeah, he was being considered for a consultant role
Okay,
with the White House Space Council.
I see.
So naturally, the White House wanted to do a thorough background check
Okay.
before offering him the position.
Right.
And they didn't cut any corners.
Yeah.
I mean, the FBI conducted a full field investigation.
Wow.
They interviewed people who knew Clancy.
Okay.
They were checking his financial records.
Hmm.
They even reached out to other government agencies like the Office of Personnel Management and the Secret Service.
Wow. So this was very in depth.
Yeah, it sounds incredibly thorough.
Yeah.
So how does our mysterious death sentence fit into all this?
Well, during this investigation,
Yeah.
Clancy, he apparently gave a copy of this death sentence document
Hold
to FBI Director William Sessions.
Wait, so even the FBI director gets caught up in this
Right.
whole saga of this fake document?
It seems so.
Wow.
And Director Sessions found it interesting enough to have the FBI actually look into it.
Okay.
Even with all the resources they had at their disposal.
Right.
During this really high-profile background check,
Yeah, you'd think they'd quickly dismiss it as a fake, especially given their expertise.
you would think,
Yeah.
but they actually contacted the New Mexico Archival Library,
Oh,
just
yeah.
like you did.
Right.
And they got the same confirmation that this is it's a fabrication.
So mystery solved again.
Not quite.
What else is there?
Well, what's peculiar is that the FBI, having seen that Baltimore Sun article,
Yeah.
seemed particularly interested in any potential connection
Okay.
between the document and Judge Isaac Parker.
So even though they knew it was a fake,
Yes.
they were still intrigued by its origins
Absolutely.
and how it managed to circulate
Yeah,
within different circles, possibly even law enforcement.
precisely.
That's
Yeah.
right.
It suggests that they weren't simply dismissing it
Right.
as a harmless prank.
Right.
They saw something more significant in the document's appearance, first in that DEA discrimination case,
Right.
and then in their own investigation of a prominent author.
It's almost as if this fake document is like a window into something deeper,
Yeah,
something about the culture and attitudes within these institutions.
exactly.
Yeah.
It really raises the question, why would a document like this,
Yeah.
even if it was intended as a joke,
Right.
why would it exist and circulate in these contexts?
Yeah.
What does that say about the environment and the prevailing mindsets?
It's a little unsettling to think that even just a fake document, a made-up document, can tell us something about these institutions.
Yeah, I think it's a reminder that, history isn't just about,
It's-
dates and facts and figures. It's about understanding, like you said, the attitudes, the beliefs that shaped, those events and those facts. And sometimes those attitudes can be reflected in these really unexpected places, like a fake death sentence circulating among law enforcement,
Right. Yeah. So what can we learn from all this? What are the key takeaways you hope our listener walks away with today?
Well, I think first and foremost, this whole deep dive really highlights the importance of critical thinking,
Right.
Don't just take things at face value, especially
Especially when it comes to historical documents.
historical documents, yeah.
Yeah.
Or information that just seems to confirm your existing beliefs.
Right.
Always verify your sources, do your research,
Right.
and consider multiple perspectives.
Yeah. It's like that old saying,
Yeah.
if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
Right.
Or in this case, if it sounds too outrageous to be true.
Exactly. Yeah. And even when a document or information is debunked, like this death sentence, it's still worth asking, like, why did this exist in the first place?
Correct.
Who created it?
Right.
What purpose did it serve?
It makes you wonder if it was intended as a joke.
Yeah.
And if so, what does that humor tell us about the attitudes and the biases of the time?
Well, you hit on a really crucial point.
Yeah.
Sometimes a joke can be more revealing
Okay.
than a factual document.
Right.
Because it can expose those underlying beliefs
Yeah.
and prejudices that people might not express openly.
So even though we've kind of solved the mystery
Yeah.
of the document's authenticity,
Right.
it's really sparked some much larger questions, I think.
Yeah.
Questions about how we interpret the past,
Mm-hmm.
how those interpretations can can shape our understanding of the present, and
Absolutely.
that we can be, more discerning
Yeah.
consumers of information.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It also reminds us that history is full of these strange connections
Right.
and really unexpected twists.
Yeah.
You know, a seemingly insignificant document like this death sentence
Right.
ends up in an FBI background check on a famous
Hmm.
author, and it reveals something about the culture of law enforcement.
Yeah, it's like you said earlier,
Yeah.
history isn't just about the past.
Right.
It's about understanding how those events and those attitudes continue to shape our world today.
Exactly.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we encourage you, our listener, to not just file this information away, but really let it spark your curiosity,
Mm.
encourage you to think critically,
Yeah.
and maybe even inspire you to do some deep dives of your own.
Absolutely, because the pursuit of knowledge is a lifelong journey, and there's always something new to discover,
Yeah.
even in the most unexpected places.